It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be lots of death growling and vocalists scowling, filling with fear. We came up with this 2 minutes ago. Anyway, it's Death Metal December. And we're kicking it off in grand fashion with the brand new Blood Incantation album, Hidden History of the Human Race. Let's get some ancient aliens up in this shit. Hi, everyone. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
And we're two professional broadcasters. We love metal, and we like to talk about it. And in case you didn't know, it's December.
Therefore,
which means it's Death Metal December. The greatest month of the year. We spend the whole month just listening to the very best that death metal has to offer. The goriest, the grimiest, the nastiest riffs. It's just full of blast beats. A whole month of blast beats and awesome bass lines
and just deep
death growls, just nasty gutturals, and the rhythm guitarist is there too.
And some great leads. There's always
fantastic
great leads.
Sometimes there's great leads. There's some death metal bands that don't really do lead guitar.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Like the one we're doing next week doesn't have a whole lot of leads.
Not a whole lot. Well, it's kind of everything's kind of a half lead. There's a lot of melody on next week's album. There's not really a whole lot of like guitar solos.
No. This week's album there is.
Oh boy, this week's albums there's guitar solos. My goodness. So yeah, we're talking about Blood Incantation. It's their second album
ever.
Their sophomore album. Four songs.
Yes.
35 minutes.
Yeah.
And
it's 3 decently long songs and then one really long song.
One fucking titan.
Yeah.
One interstellar body of a song, if I may be so bold. But we'll get to that in a little bit. We've got some things to catch up on, I guess.
We do.
Thanksgiving actually happened.
It did.
Now and the last recording that we did. I put the episode actually out on Monday because I forgot on Sunday.
I know.
Because I'm a lazy piece of shit.
No.
But so yeah, we've got some things to catch up on. How was your Thanksgiving? I know we talked a little bit about work at work, but.
It was good. We just did regular stuff. We didn't do anything.
Regular stuff?
Just regular stuff. Did a lot of resting. Did a little bit of drinking. Yeah, that's about it.
Just a regular, just chill Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Then we had to work on that Friday.
Yeah.
That's just weird. I mean,
it is.
Isn't the whole purpose of having it on a Thursday that you get a 4-day weekend?
The whole purpose of having a holiday, I feel, especially a state holiday, like Thanksgiving is or it's national holiday, sorry, or rather where, it's not necessarily a religious thing.
Right.
Is that you get a day off. Give the workers a day off.
Sure.
And normally it's nice to have that on a Friday or on a Monday.
But they do Thanksgiving on a Thursday.
And I know it goes, I think the tradition goes back to like the origin. You're looking at
the blinky light over here.
Yes, my bedroom light.
Is that we've got to get off stage?
Yes. I think the tradition started in the Civil War when of celebrating it as a holiday as part of like a government thing instead of like the Pilgrims did this one time. Maybe we'll do, or just like general Thanksgiving harvest feast type things that condense all that down into Thanksgiving.
And it was made official in the 20th century.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
And so like, it's not necessarily a religious thing. It's just get together with your family, eat a lot of food, drink some beer, drink some wine, watch some football.
Sure.
Like appreciate each other's company.
What'd you think of the game?
I didn't. That wasn't the game I was concerned with.
Oh, no, yeah. How did that go? You played some D&D with some people you never played D&D with before.
People whom I'm related to by blood, except for one of them who's I'm related to by law.
Right. You could have made it blood. You could have done it. All you need is a knife and a handshake and.
I feel like Josh might be down for that because
I never know what. Josh is an unpredictable person.
Okay.
He's I feel like if I was like, Josh, we should be blood brothers, he'd be like, hell yeah, with absolutely no warning whatsoever. He'd pop the knife out, and
and it would be great. You do the handshake, and he'd say something like, "Hey, you have HIV." Yeah.
I hope not.
No, yeah, I know.
He's married to my sister.
Exactly. We've been meaning to talk. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it went really well.
Yeah.
I feel like it went really well anyway. They were all brand new, so there was a lot of questions. Things moved a little slow simply because, they're very inexperienced, and every time they cast a spell, I had to be like, okay, this is what the spell does. I bought spell cards.
Nice.
For the first time, just because most of the time when I'm playing, I am on Roll20, where there is a compendium of all the spells immediately available on the internet.
At your digital fingertips.
At my digital fingertips that I can just look up there. And as a DM, honestly, I try not to. I try to limit my use of spells as much as possible because, when there's sort of a weird thing in D&D 5th edition where if you have an enemy that is basically just casting spells the way a player character would cast spells, that really slows shit down, because you might have a very expansive list of spells available to this character, and they're the driving force of this fight, and you have to slow things down and say, okay, I'm going to do this, while also having to keep track of every other player while they're on their turns. Whereas if you're a player and a spellcaster, you only have your spells to keep track of. I mean, pay attention to everyone else, but you've got the entire round to think of, what is the next spell I'm going to cast?
Right.
Okay, I can look it up now that I know, like, oh, I should use this thing. What does it do? I've got some time. I'll look it up.
Got something called Magic Missile.
A lot of that got cast. It's just an easy, super convenient spell because it's an automatic hit, unless somebody casts any kind of shield spell. But no, it went really well, I'd say. And I had a good time.
They had fun?
I think so.
Okay, good.
They seem to have had fun. There were kids running around, so things got a little. It was a little distracted every once in a while, of like the kids kind of running in and out, and having to sort of keep track of them a little bit, but that was okay.
Sure.
There was nothing wrong with that, and so I think we're going to be continuing that. I need to talk to them and set up like a day out of the week where we're going to be playing and that sort of thing. But good time. It was a good time.
Good.
Yesterday, Halo Reach came out for PC. Came out on Steam as part of the Master Chief Collection on Steam. And
nice.
Played a bunch of that last night. Played some multiplayer games. I haven't played a multiplayer game in months.
Do you have a controller for or do you just do the mouse?
I do have a controller adapter because any Xbox One controller can hook up to a PC. Basically,
sure.
I think you can do that. I think PlayStation controllers as well. There's hookups there. So
but you need an adapter though, don't you?
You do need an adapter, which is just a little USB dongle that you plug in.
I love that word. USB.
But so there have been pictures of people playing Halo Reach on their PC with a PlayStation 4 controller, which I think is there's
weird.
There's some. It's funny, but it's also kind of heresy. But
not playing with their Switch controller though.
I don't think you can hook up the
Nintendo's.
Yeah, I don't think you can hook up the Switch controller. To a PC. But I've been playing on mouse and keyboard just because it's like, why? I mean, other than updated graphics and running on a powerful machine, and the graphics haven't been updated. Better frame rate is the big thing. Instead of being capped at 30 like it was on the Xbox 360, it's now whatever your machine wants to do, and whatever the servers are handling if you're playing online.
It's set up to be adaptive.
Yeah. So that was the first thing I noticed, like loading in, watched cutscene, and then the second I was really into the game and playing it, because like the cutscenes you don't notice quite so much because they're meant to be cinematic, and movies are at 24 frames a second.
Right.
Whereas when I was in the gameplay, I was like, wow, this looks so much better. Because Halo Reach, Bungie slathered motion blur all over that game.
Really?
To try and kind of smooth things over. And I noticed it really badly when they ported it over to the Xbox One originally. Now there is an official port adding it into the Xbox One version of the Master Chief Collection, where I think they updated it to run at 60 frames a second.
Nice.
And the PC version is unlimited.
So they get rid of that. Did they get rid of the motion blur then?
I mean, there's still some motion blur there and some smoothing, but it's the higher your frame rate, the less you need that to make things look better.
See, I wish I had better frame rate in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. My frame rate is pretty low.
You miss you miss some movements.
I do.
When people run in front of you, you kind of see only they're here and then they're over there.
I have children.
Yeah.
Children slow your frame rate.
Children
below
slow
24,
your frame rate
me.
down. Way below 24. Okay. But yeah, I was really enjoying that. It's
nice.
I saw a meme earlier today, which it was how I started the 2010s was Minecraft, Halo Reach, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And how I ended the 2010s, Minecraft, Halo Reach, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Which I haven't played the new Modern Warfare yet, but I'm intrigued by it. I don't know how much I really want to play it. I know the campaign is supposed to be very good. I'm not interested in Call of Duty multiplayer.
No. I had it for the PS2.
Which one? Like the original?
Yeah, the original Call of Duty. Yeah.
The OG.
Were you landing on Omaha Beach and? Yeah. Actually, it's weird. It made me. I needed Dramamine to play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played it. I think I beat it, but.
Well, especially the technology
campaign.
Back then, I imagine things were a little jerky.
Right.
Early console shooters were, of course, I said something that could also be construed as food.
So my mouth watered.
Early console shooters kind of had their problems, whereas if you were to playing Half-Life on the PC or something like that is a little bit probably not quite as jarring because things were probably a bit smoother. But yeah.
Nice.
That's fun stuff. Oh, I also found out, I was browsing Instagram earlier today, Beelzebubs is going to be playing live shows.
What? Really?
Yes.
Will there be cartoons on stage as well? That would be awesome.
I don't know.
They can manage to do that.
I'm wondering kind of how exactly they're going to be doing it, if they're going to do it Death Clock style, where it's, just the regular dudes on stage. It's Brendan and
I don't remember the name of the
drum machine.
Oh, you're talking about Gene.
Yeah, Gene, Brendan and Gene and the rest of the band up on stage. But then in the, behind them, they've got clips from the show.
Right.
Basically forming, a constant music video.
Sure.
Behind them.
Because it's appropriate. Yeah.
Death Clock got to play a live show as Death Clock recently.
What? Really?
I can't remember what the context was, but I don't know if they worked something out with Adult Swim.
Yeah.
I don't know if they worked something out with Adult Swim, but
Cartoon Network let that go?
Yeah, Death Clock, because they used to tour as Death Clock all the time.
But that was while the show was on.
Yeah, it was while the show was on and a bit after that, and then Adult Swim rescinded the rights. It was at an Adult Swim music festival.
Okay.
So that's probably why.
That makes sense.
But
it was licensed
maybe
to that festival.
Yeah. Brendan could have refused. And he could have said the only, and I don't know, I watched the video.
You weren't in the meeting.
I wasn't in the meeting.
No.
Brendan could have been like, the only way that me and the guys are going to get together and perform this is if you let us, tour. He could have said that.
Right.
Maybe he just really wanted to perform his Death Clock, but because he's been doing Brendan Small's Galactatron is what it's called. For the last few years, he's been doing that.
Sure. But he doesn't have the rights to the Death Clock songs,
he
probably can't.
Yeah, he doesn't have the rights to the Death Clock songs, and I don't think he has the rights to the name. He doesn't have the rights to the name of the band. I think he has the rights to the names of the characters, I want to say. But at any rate, that's sort of a sad situation. But I was really excited. It was like, new Death Clock, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're. I don't know if they're doing that Death Clock style or if they're going to be. They could easily all dress up as the characters from the comic, just live and in person, because it's all corpse paint.
Right.
It's all corpse paint and long black hair. That's not hard to do.
No.
And the drummer's just got to be wearing glasses. That's basically it. It's certainly doable. So I'm excited to see what becomes of that. I want to see some live shows. I was thinking earlier today what we should do.
Yeah.
Maybe later this month. I can organize it a little bit. Print off a list of all the albums we've talked about this year. And what we should do.
Do a countdown?
Not necessarily do a countdown. That'd be a bit intensive.
Sure.
What we should do is we should each pick a favorite. We should each pick a favorite album that we have brought, and then a favorite album that the other person has brought.
Sure. We could talk about that during like Chuckmas or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Just like these are the favorite ones that we've talked about in the last year, and maybe we could pick out ones that we liked the least too. I
know where you would. The only bronze you've ever given.
Yeah, I still feel a little bad about it, but it's
all right.
It's
you know, and I probably didn't pick the right album to introduce them to you.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, look, you went big.
Yeah,
you went big. There's nothing wrong with that. You wanted to challenge me. And that's
okay. What happened.
Yeah,
it was a challenge.
It was a challenge for me, to say the least. But we could, we could do that. I just need to make a list of like all of the albums that you've brought, and then all the albums that I've brought, and get it into your hands. Why did that make you hungry?
Brats. That would be.
Oh my God!
You got any mustard?
I do. Right, I don't have any brats, though. If you just want to mainline some mustard.
You've never done that?
No, I haven't.
Well, actually, you don't mainline. You freebase it. Yeah.
I suppose, yeah. Freebase some mustard.
Yeah.
Is that what the kids are doing these days?
That's what the kids, they're calling it mustard. Oh, what is it? It's fucking mustard.
It's fucking mustard. I also, like, if we want to talk about some other albums as well, things we've been listening to, maybe some honorable mentions, because like this album came out a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And earlier this summer, an album earlier this year in the summer.
This summer, it's just one long summer for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Earlier this year, a band called Gate Creeper from Arizona put out a new album, and I tried listening to it, and I kind of didn't enjoy myself all that much. The vocals just kind of bored me. It wasn't progressive enough, and that's the progressive sound is the exact reason why I like Blood Incantation.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And Gate Creeper.
It's prog rock.
Yeah, Gate Creeper really leans heavily into the sort of classic style of death metal that is
traditional.
That is all about just a mean sound. They're not. I don't think Gate Creeper doesn't really experiment a whole lot. They're just a traditional kind of pummeling sort of death metal sound, and that has its place. And I've enjoyed some of their stuff previously. It's just I need to be in the right mood, I think, for Gate Creeper, and I wasn't.
There's a lot of bands like that for me.
Yeah, I was in a Blood Incantation mood. And I've been. Oh, I like this stuff. Real quick, I also have been listening to a band called Falls of Rauros.
Okay, yeah.
Which was appropriate because it popped into my head after I was watching Fellowship of the Ring.
Sure. And it just feels like it should be in that movie.
Yeah, well, it is. The name Falls of Rauros is a location. Falls of Rauros is a location in
the Lord of Rings.
Yeah, in the Fellowship. It's
in the Lord of Rings?
In the Lord of Rings. Hello, I'm Sauron, Lord of Rings. But yeah, it's the waterfall that they send Boromir over.
Right.
In the boat after he dies. Spoilers, Boromir dies. Did you know Sean Bean dies at the end of the first Lord of the Rings movie?
Is that between the statues?
Yeah, that's the waterfall at the end of the lake. Between the statues. And it's a folk black metal band from the U.S. There's sort of shades of Panopticon in there. They're very much in the same group of bands as Panopticon, but they lean more towards like sort of a post rock or like folk type, like general folk, as opposed to bluegrass and Appalachian music that Austin puts into Panopticon.
Right.
These guys generally, they do generally more of just a sort of general folk sound, and some sort of post-rock tones and vibes, and very kind of. There's a lot of relaxed, sort of ethereal feelings.
But there's like a death metal underlying current.
Black metal, you mean?
Black metal, yeah. Death metal.
Yeah, there's definitely an underlying current of black metal. The vocals are very black metal. Once the guitars really kick in, it's generally speaking very black, very icy production. It's not lo-fi, but it feels icy. There's lots of reverb, but it's like a nice. Or like sort of a thoughtful winter day instead of a like a calm, cloudy, sort of blue winter day, as opposed to like traditional black metal, which is horrifying blizzard. You're going to freeze to death.
It's a wintry day, all right.
It's all death. That's not the vibe that they give off.
That takes me back.
But I really, really like Falls of Rara. So next month, when we get into black metal stuff, definitely gonna be bringing them by. I've really been enjoying it. So, Blood Incantation.
Indeed.
Oh, I feel like we got spoiled this week.
This was delightful.
We've been spoiled the last month. There's been a lot of really good releases in the last month.
Oh yeah. The end of the now, is that like a tradition in metal? When the leaves turn, we're gonna
put out a bunch of really good shit.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the year, they do that with movies too, though. Like a lot of movies come out like September to December.
Right.
People kind of want. I think it's because studios want their movies, especially if they're really good movies, to be very fresh for Oscar season.
Sure.
I think that's kind of the thing. That's why
I feel like that's not going to be an issue with metal, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we got to get it fresh in mind for the Grammys.
Yeah. You make a good point there. But like with movies, that's the reason why January is such a fucking barren expanse of shit.
Of shit movies.
Fuck you, it's January.
Yeah. It's so weird, though, like in January and February, when they put out a great movie.
Yeah, it's like, don't you know what month it is? This is not the month for good movies. This is the month where Underworld 7 comes out. The only reason anybody's watching it is to just watch Kate Beckinsale in tight clothes, whatever material it's made out of.
We're not sure.
As long as it's tight and black.
The only record albums that come out in February are the ones they had to melt down to make clothes for Kate Beckinsale. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We have to stop talking about Kate Beckinsale.
All right.
I could go on for hours.
And we're alone.
And we're two grown men alone in a room. Let's not do that. So, Blood Incantation is a death metal band.
From Denver.
From Denver, Colorado, indeed. They consists of vocalist and guitarist Paul Riddell, guitarist Morris Kolentierski, drummer Isaac Falk, and bassist Jeff Barrett. Jeff Barrett plays a fretless bass.
Yes, I noticed. Yeah, I noticed it. I could hear.
Yes, it's very murmury.
Yeah.
I like the sound of fretless bass.
Yeah, so do I.
And it's got to be so difficult to play.
Oh,
what?
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm saving this for later.
Okay.
A band we're gonna have to listen to in January. Well, no, because it's a thrash metal band. February.
Okay.
Well, no, they're not female. Well, whatever. It's sometime in the future.
Sometime in the future, we'll get to it.
So I was thinking of Sadist. Just remember Sadist.
Okay.
All right.
They're currently signed to Dark Descent Records. They were founded in 2011, and they've been sticking with the theme ever since then, basically. They put out their first big EP in 2015, which was called... the first big EP was called Interdimensional Extinction. That was the first one that got them a lot of attention, I think. They put out some previous EPs. There's their self-titled in 2013, some demos, and then one called Astral Spells in 2014.
Right.
Interdimensional Extinction is the first one that you can find on streaming platforms. I haven't actually listened to that one. I've listened to Starspawn quite a bit, but I haven't listened to Interdimensional Extinction.
Starspawn's from 2016, right?
Yes. That was their first album. Yeah. A couple minutes shorter than this one. They seem to like like to keep it short and sweet.
Right.
At least in the album length.
How do we pad this out? No, we're not going to pad this out.
Yeah, we're padding it out.
We're going to put the good shit in and we're going to ship it.
Yeah, and it might be 6 songs.
Yeah.
It might be 4 with one really, really long song.
Right.
But I feel like the only reason why the name of the song, which I'm going to save for a little bit because it's ludicrous, but the reason why the last song on this album was so long, I feel like, is because they had a lot of really good ideas.
Yeah.
And it all congealed into one track.
One concept,
as opposed to like they didn't feel like splitting it up. It might as well play as one continuous track. This is the way we wrote it. This is the way it's meant to be listened to.
Right, like when you're listening to Dream Theater. You know,
it might as well.
You get that.
Metropolis Part 2 might as well be one track. It may as well, like, yes, there's definitely moments where like one song sort of fades out and fades up into the other one, and it's not a continuous musical piece, but it's all one very unified concept that could, in my opinion, very well be one full track for Metropolis Part 2. Now you get to like 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. Yeah, that's a different song.
Yes. It's
a concept, but they're tackling a different element of that concept every time. They're not telling a story.
Right.
But
they're telling an idea.
Yeah, they're getting an idea across. The idea of this one is apparently in the words of that one guy from the History Channel, aliens.
With the hair up and the
that's their whole thing is ancient aliens. And the name of this album actually comes from a famous book, I think, that came out in 1993 that I can't remember the title before it, because there was this Hidden History of the Human Race was the subtitle of the book. I can't remember what the full like regular main title was, but it was a sort of famous book that came out, a pseudo archaeological book similar to like Chariot of the Gods, that came out and probably influenced a lot of weirdos. But it's great fodder for science fiction and for people who like to make weird music.
I gotta say, in listening to this, it sort of, I was itching to stop the music and see if I still had my weed dealer in my phone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this would be great to listen to.
Oh, God, yeah.
If I was a little bit high right now. But.
Yeah. Their whole thing is sort of blending psychedelic elements with like old school death metal.
Yeah. But done old school death metal.
Yeah, it's tight and cohesive. It's more along the lines of something like Death rather than something like maybe like Suffocation or something, where Suffocation sort of had a much sludgier, much muddier type of sound, whereas Death was always very precise and well produced and that sort of thing. More in the line with that, but like the guitar tones are just they're monumental, just chuggy and like. They're not super clean. There's a lot of fuzz on them and whatnot, but it's...
And they vary that. They widely vary that.
Oh, yes. There's so much... I feel like dynamic is kind of our throwaway buzzword.
It's very dynamic.
We say everything. Oh, it's really dynamic.
Tomorrow at work, I'm doing that. I'm gonna start just for
describe everything as dynamic.
Everything is. How's that popcorn? Oh. It's dynamic.
It's absolutely, it's so dynamic. So many different flavors in one in one bag.
This was buttery over here. This is more salty on this side.
It's because he didn't shake it well enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, they love to blend sort of psychedelic type sounds in with their death metal, and I feel like the fretless bass is partly responsible for that sound. There's something very psychedelic about the sound of a fretless bass guitar. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, this would be a good album to listen to in some manner of altered state, I think. My goodness. So I feel like it's kind of a stupid question. Does this album slap?
Yes, this album slaps.
Yeah. It certainly has its slow moments. The third song on the album.
The third song is almost not a death metal song to the last minute.
Yeah, right up until like it takes until the last minute to kick into any sort of death metal.
But it's so good.
Oh yeah.
Inner Paths.
Inner Paths. That was the first single they released as well.
Really?
Yeah, because apparently they really wanted to fucking tease their fans. Just like, you want something really heavy. This only gets heavy in the last minute, and the rest of it's just 7 minutes of fucking psychedelic nonsense.
Forever, I'm going to have it in my mind that they talk like that.
But yeah,
Hi, we're Blood Incantation.
Inner Paths to Outer Space is the name of the track, and yeah, it's mostly sort of this kind of meandering,
right?
Just sort of psychedelic journey that feels, it's foreboding and intimidating, and then it kicks in.
It really ramps up.
Yeah. The first two songs, like, speaking of ramping up, there's no ramp into this album.
No.
This album starts
immediately.
First song is called Slave Species to the Gods.
Yeah.
There is no preparation. There's no lead up. There's no, like, intro song. It's just boom, straight into the fucking riffs.
Which is funny because I was trying to listen to this the other day, and I had turned Bluetooth off on my phone for some reason.
Yeah.
But my daughter's phone had its Bluetooth still on, so I turned the headphones on, and I had this at full blast, and I started it, and I startled my wife. What the hell was that? Are you pumping that into your ears? Yes, ma'am, I am.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, my God. So the second song is called Giza Power Plant, which I think is a wonderful title.
Sure.
The pyramid is a big power generator.
Built by the aliens.
Built by the aliens. Or built by humans on behalf of the aliens.
Right, for the alien overlords.
But that one has this really wonderful, I don't know, a passage. There's a section of guitar music in there that I can only describe as kind of sexy.
Yeah.
But sexy in the way that, like, an H.R. Giger painting is kind of sexy.
Right. I'm turned on by this. Is this a giant medium mechanical penis? What am I looking at right now?
This is some sort of biomechanical vagina.
Is that a mouth?
And there's all sorts of tiny little biomechanical penises going into it.
And coming out of it.
It's sexy in the way that an H.R. Giger painting is sexy. I don't know, like, really how else to describe it. There's just this sort of it's not a guitar solo. It's just this appropriately Egyptian sounding.
Right.
There's sort of the Egyptian riff that's appeared. I've heard it used on metalcore albums. I've heard it used. I've heard Infant Annihilator use it on their second album. There's a couple times they sort of use this. It's not technically the same riff, but it all provides this feeling of Egyptian Empire somehow.
And I always feel weird. Not always, but a lot of times I'll feel weird when I'm listening to a great metal song, and it's something about, I don't know, technical monsters killing babies or whatever, and and then they go into this really, really crazy Middle Eastern sort of guitar mode, and man, I don't know if that's okay. It's great, but it seems out of place.
Yeah. This doesn't really feel out of place.
No, because it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because you get the context from the title of the song. I really like Giza Power Plant, and then we've already talked about Inner Paths to Outer Space, and then we get to excuse me, Awakening from the Dream of Existence to the Multidimensional Nature of Our Reality, parentheses, Mirror of the Soul, end parentheses. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's an 18-minute long track.
It is.
And
more than 18 minutes. Yeah. Fantastic.
It's a journey.
It is.
It's a journey, that track. I really like that one.
I don't want to use the D word again, but
dynamic, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a very long section that's very quiet, very relaxed.
Indeed. And it ends that way.
Yeah. They go back into the heaviness for a little bit, and then they end with some very contemplative guitar solos.
Right.
Let's talk about the score. I managed to find a bunch of scores for this album.
Really? Even though it's so new.
Yeah. People got on this. People were ready to go on this album.
Well, hopefully these guys have a good career.
I hope so. They've been kind of in the underground in ways that Gatecreeper kind of hasn't been. Like, I remember a couple of years ago, Gatecreeper kind of showing up as this sort of, like, really kind of underground, kind of sludgy sort of, like, this is, like, really nasty, like, classic death metal, and popping up on Reddit, and me going kind of like but then they put out a new album, and then the one previous to this newest one,
Sure.
And suddenly they started getting more and more popular and started ending up at festivals with bigger bands like Cattle Decapitation and stuff like that, which we'll talk obviously a lot more about next week. But Blood Incantation has kind of stayed a little bit more in the background. But my goodness, they've got a lot of positive press with this. 90% was the average of the 7 reviews that I found. 90%. I don't know if you thought I said 98. Yeah. That would be amazing. There were a couple 10 out of 10s in there, a couple 5 out of 5s.
That always worries me when I read that, though.
Yeah. But like a 5 out of 5 doesn't worry me so much because you have less wiggle room there,
right?
To give it like a 97.
But with 10. Who gave this a 10 out of 10? My mom.
Yeah. No, this was I think it was Metal Sucks or Metal Injection gave it a 10 out of 10.
Either way.
Pitchfork gave it an 83.
Wow.
There were a couple other bigger publications that gave it very positive reviews. And like this is an album that I feel like has a fair amount of crossover appeal, especially for music critics. There's a lot of music critics love progressive music, generally speaking. So this is very appeling to them in the same way that Horrendous, their most recent album. Yeah,
those reviews always they always begin with, I don't listen to a lot of death metal.
Yeah. Well, it's starting to be actually like there are people now at I feel like metal has a lot bigger presence at Pitchfork than maybe we give it credit. There's a lot more Anthony Fantanos in the world than there used to be, where he is a guy who genuinely listens to fucking everything.
Right.
Like Anthony Fantano listens to and likes a little bit of everything. He might go from listening to black metal to listening to trap. In the same listening session.
Is there a crossover with that? Is there trap metal?
Probably.
Black Trap?
I think Brojob does some stuff like that. It's like
sure.
Most of the bands that do that are typically deathcore bands. There's a German band called that recently put out a new song, and they're a German deathcore band that was famous for kind of putting in electronic elements called We Butter the Bread with Butter. They had disappeared for a while, and they put out a new song the other week. And they were famous for a fair amount of time for bringing in some electronic elements to deathcore.
Okay.
There was a whole subset of metalcore that did like dance electronic music, electronic dance music. That
EDM.
was called crunkcore, and it was the worst thing to ever happen.
It sounds like a great Warcraft character.
I am Crunkcore. Crunkcore, and it is in my opinion the worst thing to have ever happened to any genre ever.
Sure. Well, there's bro country black metal.
Bro country. No, they're Bro Country Hit Machine.
Well, yeah, that was a band we were talking about. But can you mention an actual crossover
of Bro Country black metal?
Bro Country black metal.
I feel like that there's no way that the band could take itself seriously because everything about black metal is so much the antithesis of Bro Country. Austin Lund gets away with bluegrass and Panopticon because bluegrass is at its roots a very kind of sort of bleak style of music, made by very poor, disadvantaged people in a very rural, remote part of the country. There's a lot of kinship, I think, to be had between black metal and bluegrass, like traditional bluegrass styles. But
I still remember
Bro Country, not really. No,
I still feel I still remember the first crossover metal bluegrass I'd ever heard.
Oh, Chris Gaines.
Yes. Chris Gaines. Lost in You. That song. No. They were called Hayseed Dixie.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Hayseed Dixie, and
that's a really clever name.
Yeah,
I like that.
And the story was that some city feller come through town, crashed his car. He died, but we kept his records.
Continue.
Yeah,
that was just it.
We kept his records
and we listened to it.
We liked it very much. My old cousin got his washboard out. And we got our banjos and it's funny. Their version of Hell's Bells starts out with like the bell at the front desk.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's great.
Yeah, that was back in the 90s.
That's really good. I like that. So, what's your favorite song on this album?
My favorite song is the last track.
Yeah.
It is my favorite.
Say it.
Oh, Christ. Really? The name of the song is Awakening from the Dream of Existence to the Multi-Dimensional... Hold on, it has to scroll. Nature of... no, I don't want you to play it right now. Of our reality, parenthetical, mirror of the soul. My God.
That is also my favorite song.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Right. It's great to listen to. It's juicy throughout.
Yes. You know what this reminded me of, especially with the 18-minute song and sort of Blood Incantation in general, reminds me of it reminds me so much of Gorguts.
Yeah, okay, I can hear that.
It's like non-obscura Gorguts at the very non-obscura and non-classic death metal Gorguts were like the last two releases because they did Obscura, which was so fucking challenging. I like Obscura for what it is and what it's trying to do and what it accomplishes, but it is so atonal and so
difficult listening.
Yeah, it's too progressive. There's too much stuff. It's experimental music, basically. But like with they're experimenting with sounds that are already meant to be harsh and grating,
right,
and difficult, and going 15 steps further.
It's so progressive. It's already dropped out of the campaign for the Democratic nomination.
It was too extreme. Lean too far to the left. But like Obscura was so difficult to listen to, but their most recent two releases with Pleiades Dust and Colored Sands, which like Pleiades Dust, I think is their like 28-minute epic,
sure,
which is a 28-minute long song that they released as an EP, and then Colored Sands is their most recent album. And I got a lot of the similar vibes, whereas Obscura kind of leans into sort of classical composition, not necessarily textures and sounds, but Luc Lemay tends to write Obscura's music.
Sure,
Obscura is a German band talking about Gorguts.
But Obscura is sort of yeah,
it's a band named after the Gorguts
song.
albums,
Yeah,
Obscura.
So, yeah.
Luc Lemay tends to write their music as a piece of classical music.
Sure.
It's just the instruments are death metal instruments, but he writes it as if it were classical music, basically.
You know, it's funny. With every one of these podcasts we do, somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm going, yeah, I know Cale did this in college. This was a paper he wrote.
I didn't actually.
Didn't you? I thought you did. I thought
No.
I thought you did do this in college. I thought
I did this as a like just as a fun thing. I mean, I taught and there were classes that I did, but they were broadcast classes.
Sure,
that
but
were
didn't
about
you
the experience of making the podcast. It wasn't about the content.
Well, sure, but I mean, yeah. Well, no, I know, but what I'm saying is you actually did this to get a grade for something in college.
Not really, no. We were great. We were like, if I were to have submitted a podcast for like a class for a grade, we would be judged on the composition of the podcast rather than the content.
Right.
It was about like,
but the content was this.
Yeah. But no, they generally speaking, it was not. It
didn't matter. You could have talked about dicks for 40 minutes.
Yeah, as long as it was like, okay, your audio quality is good. You put some edits in there. Yeah. You took your time with this to try and make this decent.
Sure.
That was what we were being graded on.
Right.
Not necessarily the content, but so yeah, I've just done some research on Gorguts because they fascinate me.
Well, yeah, they're fascinating.
Because I listened to Obscura and I was like, wow, I got to know more about these guys.
Oh, that was your introduction.
Yeah, Obscura was my
sure.
I was reading about death metal and I was like, Wikipedia said Obscura by Gorguts was like a turning point in the genre where things got really fucking weird in the late 90s. Where like things got really progressive, and it was one of the first like big, really experimental death metal albums.
You know, I love it when stuff like that hits, but there's been times in my life where stuff like that did not hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could remember the name of the band, but they when they put out their new release, and it wasn't even on a major label, it was some small, they carried the albums into the store themselves. Things. It was our favorite bands are Voivod and Carcass. I mean, I'm thinking, I don't know what that's going to sound like, and then listening to it, going, it doesn't sound like either of those.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah, that's a weird combo with Voivod and Carcass. That doesn't really seem to.
I don't know. Our favorite bands are Testament and Taylor Swift. What? No, I'm gonna give it a spin, but
I was really inspired by Tallest Man on Earth and Dying Fetus.
This is my project, The Tallest Fetus on Earth.
And here's an even taller Norman Reedus carrying it across this desolate post-apocalyptic landscape, avoiding oil monsters, building roads, reconnecting America while throwing piss grenades at the oil ghosts.
Oh, life has really turned into a surreal thing, hasn't it?
Oh, we love you, Hideo Kojima.
Well, what's your video game? Oh, I'm shooting these blips at these other blips. Really? What's my video game?
We have to have an aside about Death Stranding. Neither of us have played Death Stranding.
No, we have not. My daughter has.
Really?
Yeah.
Which your oldest daughter?
Yeah, Abigail.
Okay.
She's 24.
Yeah. How does she feel about Death Stranding?
She says I like it, and I said, is there a lot of walking? She said, yeah.
The whole game is walking.
Yeah.
If you're not in a cutscene, you're walking.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you are in cutscenes for about 8 hours. Because it's a Hideo Kojima game.
Right. It's a movie, then you hit triangle, then it's another movie.
Then you try and skip the cutscenes, and then you're walking for 4 hours.
Yeah. And if you do skip the cutscenes, you have no fucking idea what's going on.
Not that would really help you all that much. I haven't played Death Stranding.
Uh-huh.
I want to play Death Stranding.
I hear you.
I want to see if it's for me, because it's one of those games that is so divisive, where people seem to either despise it or they seem to really, really like it.
Right.
And I feel like, having watched videos, that I might enjoy it. And it's so wonderful that the fact that a game like this exists is so. I find it so wonderful. The fact that Sony gave a man like Hideo Kojima millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, literally is probably as much money as he wanted to make this game, and said, we do not care what it's about as long as it's made by you. The fact that can happen, I think, is wonderful and amazing, and I want it to happen more.
Right. So he decided to put famous actors in the game.
Yes, because he was friends with them.
Sure.
My question is, if I, what do you think? 16-year-old OJ did you have any video game experience at 16?
I got my first video game, the Atari 2600. It was my first video game system. So yeah, I had lots of those games. I got that in 1982 or 81.
So it was early on. All right.
Yeah.
So young OJ playing his Atari. I go back in time and I've got
16 would be 1990. So
what do you think?
Would have had the NES by that point.
What do you think your reaction to a game like Death Stranding would have been?
Actually, looking back on it, because I always assumed the future was going to be fucking weird.
Yeah.
If you'd have come back and said, "Yeah, we made Breakout 2 or or whatever," it's combat, it's Space Invaders.
In the future, we've got a game where you play as a famous actor and throw piss grenades at oil ghosts.
I would have gone par for the course.
That makes sense.
I was hoping for that.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't wait to be in my 40s.
And also, there's another Doom game that's going to be coming out.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And everyone's going to love that.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm looking forward to it on one hand. On the other hand, I know that I'll buy it and I'm just going to make eye contact with my wife and I'm just going to see the deep disapproval in her face.
It's something that you're only going to be able to play after the kids go to bed.
Right.
That's yeah.
Although you're not killing humans. See, she seems to be okay
You're
letting our son...
human-shaped things in extremely violent ways, though.
Yeah, that's true.
That is like yes, you're not killing humans, but it's not like Halo where there's gore, there's a fair amount of gore and blood and whatnot, but you're not dismembering anyone in Halo. Mm-hmm. In Doom, you kind of there's some very humanoid demons that you can do some unspeakable things to.
Yeah. I'm sorry, son. This is too scary. We're gonna play this game called Silent Hill. Yeah.
With your friend Pyramid Head. Yeah. We're going to. What I hope is speaking of Silent Hill, because we were talking about Hideo Kojima.
Sure.
I hope that maybe the success. I guess I don't really know if Death Stranding has been successful. Technically speaking, like I don't know if it's been a financial success yet.
Right. Well, I feel like it can't be. I feel like that's something that's made as an artistic statement.
Yeah.
In the hope of encouraging further endeavors in the future.
Hopefully. It's something that's going to inspire people to make things like it, but better.
Right.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm. And therefore maybe financial gains for the company.
Yeah.
Or Hideo in the future.
Because what I would hope is, and I think Konami still has the rights to the name, but what I would hope is that Sony lets Hideo Kojima make his horror game.
Sure.
Whatever it is, it's probably going to end up being a lot like what Silent Hills was intended to be. It's probably not going to be called Silent Hills, but it's going to be similar because he was responsible for PT, which was such a ridiculous craze for 3 weeks, or even longer than that, where you could actually download it and play it. It was such a craze. And then the whole debacle happened where Konami fired him or let him go or whatever the situation was.
They parted ways. Yeah.
And that amazing game that was to be never came out. And he has stated he wants his next game to be the scariest horror game anyone has ever played.
Awesome.
I feel like Silent Hills was going to be that game. But anyway... We surely digressed there.
So blood incantation.
Blood incantation. I love that's our segue. It's just Alma.
Band name, yeah.
Band name.
Yeah. I did listen to some other death metal over the last week.
Did you?
I did. I had gone back and listened to some things that I loved. I re-listened to, and I don't know if you can. I mean, I guess they classify themselves as a death metal band. Entombed. Yes, they're.
I believe they're considered. Yeah,
Swedish death metal, sort of death rock metal, death.
I think they were early on.
Yeah,
early enough that it didn't really matter.
I went and I listened to 3 of their albums. Actually, I listened to Left Hand Path and Wolverine Blues and Inferno. Those are my 3 favorite of theirs. I also listened to some Obituary last night.
All right.
I listened to Cause of Death, of course. That's where they had the hired gun James Murphy playing lead guitar.
All right.
And they did a Sneltic Frost song on there.
We went over this.
Sneltic. It's Sneltic.
Sneltic.
Yeah.
I feel like a Sneltic is some sort of weird, like lesser known, low level D&D monster that nobody ever uses.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm a Sneltic. I'm going to curse you.
Blink.
Make a wisdom saving throw.
and then it belches.
And then it belches.
They do Circle of the Tyrants on there, which is great. What other death metal have I listened to over the last week? It's been a blur.
Yeah. I mean, we've got all month. You don't feel like you need to pack it all in week 1.
You know what? There's enough. I feel like there's enough death metal to fill up December.
There is a lot of death metal out there.
There's
a lot to love, a lot to get into.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up our discussion of
Blood
Incantation before we get to talking about much anything else. What do you want to bestow on this?
I gotta say, I gotta give it a gold.
Me too.
Yeah.
this has got to be a gold.
Yeah.
This
fits the gold category.
This is some quality stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy that I came across Blood Incantation entirely by chance. It was a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was on my way back from a wedding in Fargo, and I saw the logo, because their logo is utterly unintelligible.
It is. It's the cracked leather chair logo. Yeah.
The letters are in there somewhere, apparently.
Yeah.
I've been told. And I was like, what is this? This is an actual band? And people in the comments were extremely enthusiastic. It was the death metal subreddit. And people in the comments were so enthusiastic. They're like, fuck yeah, I love Blood Incantation. I was like, people really like this band. I got to check this out. Holy shit, this is awesome.
This is great.
And so I'm so happy that I came across it, because this was a really good album that I feel like I might not have known about or listened to otherwise.
Yeah, see, and I don't have a Reddit. Well, I think I have a Reddit account, but I don't know what it is. So
I'll have to teach you something.
Yeah, I'll just get all this stuff from you. Is one of the heavy metal stuffs.
I have to have you install Reddit on your phone.
Yeah,
and
I have iAlien downloaded somewhere. I think
there's other apps too.
Yeah,
just I'll go into your account and delete all of the shitty dumb subreddits that you don't need.
Okay,
and then be like, okay, prog metal, thrash metal, regular metal, death metal, deathcore, black metal. I'll subscribe you to those pages, and that will be your new music feed.
Hey, will you show Grandpa how to use the Reddits?
It's got all the links you need. So next week we're doing Death Metal December a little differently. Normally we go week on, week off with with us.
I'm gonna say that we're not really breaking from that, because I listened to this of my own volition, and had you said, hey, what do you want to listen to next week? Fucking the new kettle decapitation.
Yeah.
Yes, they were making some tea, and they chopped his kettle off.
I suppose kettle decapitation.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly. But I feel normally it's like, oh, new album, I'll bring this.
Yeah.
Older albums, OJ brings this. So normally that's the way it works, and we do week on, week off.
Sure.
But next week we're doing another
new album.
Technically another new album.
Yeah.
Death Atlas by Cattle Decapitation. New album from them. One of my favorite death metal bands. Excited to getting to talk about it next week.
Spoiler: they did not disappoint.
They didn't. I'd say I wasn't disappointed. I don't know if I was as satisfied as I wanted to be for most of the album. Like there's some really high points, but I feel like maybe my expectations were a little too high.
It's not your favorite Cattle Decap album.
Probably not, no. But we'll talk more about that next week, and maybe I'll feel differently by next week. I'll have a whole another week of experience with this album, and right now I've only had 5 days.
Maybe you'll get a hold of my weed dealer.
I don't know if Death Atlas is really the album you want to listen to high. It's a little too depressing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's for a death metal album. Holy fuck, is it depressing? So I don't know if that's really something you want to listen to.
Here's a song about how we're all gonna die, followed by a message about how we're all gonna die,
followed by another song about how we're all fucked and it's our fault and we're all going to die.
Yeah.
So we get to talk about that ball of happy fun times next week.
Do not taunt Happy Fun Ball.
Do not taunt the Happy Fun Ball. Okay, so if you are also excited for Death Metal December and you want to keep up with us, check out our social media pages. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter.
Because we're doing an old album after that, the week after.
Yes, we're going to be doing...
going back to 1991? Morbid Angel.
Okay. And that should come out the week before Crimbus. Yes.
For us, Chuckmas.
Sorry, my goodness, Chuckmas.
Yeah.
How could I forget? What's wrong? I have, sorry, I'm thinking of where my flog is at.
Please.
Where my cat of nine tails
Please
is.
do not self-flagellate while I'm here.
I'll wait till you leave. I have a cat of nine tails hidden somewhere. I
know you have a cat in one tail.
I'll just get her really angry and have her scratch up my back.
That's sort of been the nature of my marriage.
I don't know if I needed to know that.
No, you didn't.
I was talking about social media pages. Check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. You'll get updates when we put out new episodes. I'm probably going to be doing some memes again. Last year I did memes all week for Chuck Mess, so I'll probably be doing some more stuff
why not?
like that this week if I can find more death related memes. I kind of went through a lot of them last year, but
yeah, he's not making new stuff, so
yeah, it's not like Chuck is making new material. He's always laying down epic riffs in our hearts, though.
He's torturing angels now.
It's because those angels hated puppies. They were shitty. The angels weren't good enough, so he got assigned to punish them for not being good enough. Anyway, you can also find us on iTunes and on Libsyn.
Yeah.
You can subscribe to us there, and I'm sure you'll get the same courtesy of getting new episodes when they come out.
Sure.
Until next week, thank you very much for listening. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.